by SIDA. So that program, having realized that following our war years, 2005, we created institutions to, redevelop the integrity institution we broke down during our war years. That program is intended to help develop them, help build the consciousness against corruption of the ordinary people, and to also keep government feet to the fire to ensure that they act according to the laws that are on book against corruption. We very sadly are seeing that in spite of all of the efforts, corruption is still with us. If you check in almost every news house today, you find corruption as a key item on the agenda for public reporting. So we are disturbed. So JOCSAI, the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative, is a pool of civil society organizations, CBO, that have come together to help CENTAL execute this NIBA program. And in doing that, we've launched a month-long exercise, anti-corruption exercise. One of the biggest aspects was what you saw yesterday, the coming together of the civil society and CBO organization, bringing together students and ordinary citizens, parading the street of Monrovia, going to the capital, seeking attention, and presenting a petition with specifically 6 agenda. And those agenda has to do with asking the lawmakers to act on the passage of bills that are before them that are intended to enhance the fight against corruption.
Maybe
6 important bills.
Maybe you can just go over the petition quickly so that.
So it's important. Thank you for the opportunity. I thought we were time pressed.
Yes, sir.
So the petition is a petition statement to members of the 54th National Legislature presented by JOCSAI, Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative, in collaboration with the Center for Transparency. It was read yesterday, which was Tuesday. Whereas corruption, defined by Transparency International as the EBU, is pervasive in Liberia and believed underdevelopment and poverty-stricken country conditions of its citizens, despite being naturally endowed. Whereas the government of Liberia, supported by international partners, citizens, and stakeholders, has established key anti-graft institutions and passed code of conduct for public officials, freedom of information, and other laws, signed up to key international anti-corruption frameworks such as the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and African Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption, as well as developed the Pro Agenda for Prosperity and Development, PAPD, particularly Pillar 4 on governance and transparency to fight against corruption in Liberia. Whereas the fight against corruption in Liberia is challenged and undermined by several factors, including but not limited to low budgetary and logistical support to public integrity institutions, weak enforcement of anti-corruption laws and policies, the absence and limitation of key laws and institutions for dealing with corruption in Liberia, and limited political will to decisively act against public officials and other individuals at the center of grave incidents, allegations of corruption, whereas fighting against corruption requires a multidimensional approach encompassing prevention, prosecution, and partnership that combine different elements to curb the menace of corruption that has plagued the country for so long, whereas the 2021 saw robust anti-corruption initiatives aimed at increasing meaningful public participation in the fight against corruption through efforts focused on educating and creating awareness among the public about corruption, including the values reflected in desisting from it and the importance of reporting it and living with integrity, whereas it is generally recognized that the full disclosure of corruption and other criminal conducts is essential for the comprehensive investigation and prosecution of corruption and other criminal conducts in public institutions, private organizations, and other spheres of society, whereas the existence of strong laws that protect both persons who have the courage to become whistleblowers and witness in fully disclosing to investigators and prosecutors the perpetration and criminal conduct is the most appropriate and effective way to combat corruption and other criminal conducts and unethical practices in public institutions, private organizations, within communities and a larger society, whereas measures taken for the protection of whistleblowers and witness of corruption and other related complaints and cases should be sufficient to create an atmosphere free of intimidation and any fear of physical injury or any other fear of harm, whereas the need for the establishment of a Witness Protection Unit, WPU, as an autonomous agency in the executive branch of government to administer witness protection programs in collaboration with the Ministry of Justice, MOJ, Liberia, Anti-Corruption Commission, LACC, and other related institutions cannot be overly emphasized, whereas the need for the removal of the statute of limitation on corruption and financial crimes related offenses and to amend and revise Section 4.2 of the Criminal Procedure Law of Liberia remains very vital to the fight against corruption in Liberia, whereas the need to amend certain provision of Part 10, Section 10.1 of the Code of Conduct of 2014, also known as the Code of Conduct, to grant full authority to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission to compile, verify, maintain, update, and comprehensive asset declaration register for all government employees is equally vital, whereas amending Title 17 of the revised Code of Law of Liberia, also known as the Judicial Law of 1972, by adding Chapter 26, establishing Criminal Code F of the First Judicial Circuit Court of Monrovia County and special divisions of the circuit courts of the other counties of the Republic to have exclusive original jurisdiction over the crime of corruption, including but not limited to bribery, embezzlement, extortion, fraud, influence, peddling, insider trading, misuse of entrusted public property, invested authority, money laundering, unjust enrichment, and any economic and financial crime is of key importance. Now, therefore, in view of the above concerns, observations, efforts relative to the fight against corruption, and to ensure that the necessary and proper mechanisms are in place to successfully tackle this callous vice in corruption, we, the undersigned civil society and community-based organization under the banner, the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative, a conglomerate of more than 8 different civil society and community-based organizations, having come together to facilitate and accelerate anti-corruption initiatives under the auspices of the National Integrity Building Anti-Corruption Program, with sponsorship from the Swedish International Development Corporation, CEDA, through the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. Petition you, the 54th National Legislature, to increase budgetary support or allocation to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, General Auditing Commission, Public Procurement and Concession Commission, Liberia Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, LETI, and other public integrity institutions to enable them function properly and at full capacity, timely act on audit reports submitted by the General Auditing Commission, and lead by example by welcoming and facilitating a financial audit of the legislature covering the last unaudited years. Most importantly, also, we petition you for the unequivocal and speedy passage into law of the following anti-corruption instruments before you. One, bill to establish a special court to try all corruption-related cases. Two, bill to revise the criminal procedure law, thereby removing the statute of limitations from cases related to corruption. Three, bill to amend section 10.1 of the Code of Conduct for Public Officials. Four, the draft revised act of 2008, bill to give LACC the power to directly prosecute. Five, the Whistleblower Act, disclosure and protection. And lastly, F, bill to establish the Witness Protection Agency, WPA. We respectfully submit and look forward to your fullest cooperation as a matter of urgency, as the bills whose passage we see are crucial to the effectiveness of the fight against corruption and bad governance in Liberia. We also urge you to ensure that the bills are not watered down in any form or manner, thereby losing their essence. Rather, any contemplated change or changes should be made by and through meaningful consultation with relevant civil society organizations and other stakeholders, and must serve to strengthen the bills instead of detracting from them. JOCSAI holds the belief and takes resolve from the fact that when the fight against corruption is buttressed by the effectiveness in the application of the laws that appropriately apply, victory in this struggle is certain. The welfare of the governed is prioritized, while public resources previously susceptible to fraud, waste, and abuse are managed in accordance with appropriate legislation, done under our signature this 31st day of May AD 2022, and the various signatures of the partners are here.
Wow, maybe you can just some of the partners.
So some of the partners include the Center for the Exchange of Intellectual Opinions, the acronym CIM, CO, Koyaso Incorporated, Books Before Boys, Youth of Substance, Center for Information, CIF, Center for Information Freedom, Green Revolution, PMPT, LINSU, the Liberia National Student Union, CIA, Wet Harmonization, Humanitarian Care, and CENTAL, etc.
Great.
Too many partners.
Sure. So that's the petition statement. Sefa, maybe you can just add to what Elliot just read, or maybe you can tell us some of the rationale why CENTAL decided to support such an initiative.
Yes, Sam, thank you very much. So, as you may be aware, that CENTAL is currently implementing a 3.5-year program called the National Integrated Building and Anti-Corruption Program. So, the specific goal of that program is to have a corruption-free Liberia, where citizens will act with transparency and accountability in all of their dealings. So, working with group of civil society and community-based organizations in this effort to ensure that corruption is minimized or eradicated is important. So at CENTAL, we think that we cannot do this alone. We need a collective effort of every individual within our society. So, petition of the National Integrated Building Anti-Corruption Program, there were so many lessons learned. So, based on the lesson learned, we decided that we should have community-based organization. Basically, it was from that backdrop we decided to bring all of CS. You may be aware this institution has been engaging with national level CSOs. They have been engaging with community-based organizations. They have been engaging with the Muslim Council, the Christian communities in ensuring that the message about anti-corruption goes across. So, like yesterday, like my colleague have said from CEO, yesterday the march was basically intended to petition the lawmakers because these bills that were submitted by the government through the president, these bills are very important. They are key instruments to the fight against corruption in Liberia. We, as a joint civil society anti-corruption initiative, we believe that if these instruments are passed, we are going to have a space where witnesses and victims of corruption will be freely able to report every act of corruption. But as it is now, there's no witness protection program. So even those that witness act of corruption, they are afraid to report because there is no law protecting them right now. So even the criminal code F that we are also talking about, if established, we believe that those who want to get themselves involved into corruption, they will be cognizant of the fact that there's a code that is responsible to prosecute them. So we are saying that this instrument before the legislature should be passed into law, and it is going to help us to, in fact, achieve our goal, not only as CENTAL, but as a country. Because if you look at Pillar 4 of the Propo Development, Propo Agenda for Prosperity and Development, Pillar 4 talk about good governance and, in fact, reducing corruption. So if we must reduce corruption, our legislature needs to help in the process because they are the decision maker, they are the policy makers. So the executive branch is also there. So we must appreciate the executive for their level of commitment because they took the courage to even submit this bill to the House of Representatives, in fact, to the legislature. So now, again, we must appreciate the lower house because they have enacted two, but then the Senate are still, not concurring with the lower house on these two bills. So we are hoping that moving forward, as we have presented our petition, they too can add on this bill that the lower house has already passed so that we can have a serious instrument that we can use in the civil space to tackle corruption. Because if we tackle corruption and have a corruption-free Liberia, we are going to have a lot of benefits. The benefit will not go to CENTAL. In fact, it will not go to the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative, but the benefit will cut across every 15 counties and sectors of our society. So we actually want to see these bills being passed into law.
Give us your impression about yesterday's event. What's your impression? I mean, the enthusiasm, the way the young people, the people who gathered, the way the kind of enthusiasm they had. I mean, to walk from LACC in Congo Town to Capitol Hill. I mean, how was it?
Yeah. The effort, and I think those that participated yesterday, though starting the march from LACC office, that is a very long distance to Capitol building. But again, those that participated were very much excited. They didn't see the distance to be anything to them. They were rejoicing. They were chanting anti-corruption battle cry. They were excited because most of them has been victims of corruption.
Okay.
Sometimes they go to process their birth certificate. They are required to pay some money that is not even going in government revenue. Some of them go to process their passport. There are other fees that are charged. So they were very much excited yesterday to even see such an initiative. So basically, we are working with 10 institutions, but yesterday we have over 15 organizations that took on the march yesterday. So I feel that it was very much impressive, and there's a need that we amplify the message about the fight against corruption. There's a need that we do more, have an to see how best we can tackle this number one enemy as Ellen Tierney. Former President Ellen Johnson Tierney as number one enemy to the state. So we all need to work together. But on the overall, it was really okay yesterday. The match was really okay.
And Dash, I like this part of the petition. It says we also urge you meaning members of the National Legislature, to ensure that the bills are not watered down in any form or manner, thereby losing its essence. I mean, it sounds so interesting.
It is a very crucial preempting by the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative. The rationale behind the insertion of this part of this inkling into this particular statement or petition is, on many occasions, we see how our lawmakers, important matters as these, will be shelved or trashed. To some extent, in fact, if they were to give it attention, we also have known to the content unbeknown, to make some changes of the content unbeknown to the people who earlier presented them.
Okay.
When research, these informations that are in this particular document are as a result of research. We didn't just go to bed and wake up. CENTAL has been there collecting information, documenting about corruption, the challenges, why are we not making strides significantly against corruption? Why, in spite of all of our fight against corruption, all of the awareness, all of the resources being put into this, why are we still at level 1? We are not elevating. Every year, corruption perception index from the TR or Transparency Initiative, still realizing that we are at the bottom.
Okay.
We are making no significant gain. So why? So we realize that it is as a result of the challenges that are being faced by these institutions that are chief in the fight against corruption. The LACC has informed us through her working that the aspect of not having the criminal code F is keeping most of the cases that she forwards to the judiciary on the deck. How can we make further step on this? Is by asking the lawmakers to act effectively to ensure that there is a criminal code F established. So if we give you the document you carry and you think criminal code F would be, counter oppose or counteractive to your interest, you will not want to act on it.
Okay.
Apparently, you want to make amendment to it without us. So we are saying, in the event that you think there must be some changes made here, you must do it consultatively.
Okay.
It must not be just among you deciding what's best for you. Call us. Let's tell you that we've done our research and we notice that this is very important. This line must be maintained. Or if we trim around it, let's trim it, but we must still meet the agenda of creating criminal code F. Don't do it behind us.
Great.
So that was the reason behind
it.
it.
Very, very good. Very important for us to talk about this.
Yeah, another point I want to strike, I think you asked him the question.
Yeah.
It was about the issue of who benefits from this fight against corruption.
Sure. Let's
the fight against corruption, all of our efforts is directed towards the national good, the public good.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow the Sustainable Development Goal, Goal 16 talks something about global corruption.
Yes.
Because when you talk about peace and justice, peace and justice are, or the fight against corruption is a factor that derive at peace and justice.
Yes.
So if we have a society where corruption has taken over, the public are of the opinion that there's nothing you can do about corruption. So the next thing we start to do, we can go to the justice system again to fight corruption. So you start seeing insecurity increasing, mob justice, international partners will not want to come here and do business. Already the country is investment starved. What happened? The ordinary people suffer. The country now goes to the crossroad of falling to where it was some years back, war year. So if we do what we must do to fight corruption with the fullest effort we have, it means we'll be telling the international community that, look, everything you did on the Millennium Development Goal, all of the support you gave, we deserve it now because we are sustaining ourselves under the Sustainable Development Goal number 16. We are working aggressively to keep corruption out, to make sure that the resources that are generated are used specifically for the people and the people's interest. We are using the little money we got to put money in the health sector, in the education sector, creating roads. We are not using it for selfish interest. So you need to come here and buttress our effort. Other than that, there will not be anything. You heard earlier, donors were complaining about money out of comfort that the state that makes allocation of money. We talk about the National Road Fund currently. The National Road Fund, the account say, the law say it must go in a separate account where it will be managed for the road. Somebody went and taken and carried a consolidated account. That abuse of the law. So you use your personal power for your own aggrandizement. Go ask you can't get all fake information.
The program you are listening to is called Integrity Watch.
So I mean, it's troubling, Sam. It's troubling.
It's a 1 hour.
So we must keep this awareness up.
So it's very necessary. It's very necessary for us to keep these kinds of consciousness alive, so that we all can join the fight against corruption. Because corruption can never, like the war against corruption, like we have said over and over with our time, without number, that the war can never be won without a collective effort. It requires all of us coming together, working together, wherever you find yourself, in your homes, in your offices, wherever you are, you can join this fight. We can do this together. Just be the change that you want to see. Start from where you are, and we can make it work. Let's do this together. So the guests in studio today, they are from the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative. It's an initiative of the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia under its National Integrity Building and Anti-Corruption Program, being funded by the government and people of Sweden. So what we do here and how we do all of the things that we do, we only receive support from the government of Sweden. The content of what we say and how we do them, they are not the responsibility of the government and people of Sweden. Thank you. So if you want to be part of this program, we ask that you call us on the number 077-0175-162. The number is 077-01-75162. That's the number to call to be live on the program Integrity Watch. And it is a 1 hour radio program brought to you by the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. On this program, we bring guests so that they can talk about how we all can join the fight against corruption. If you are a member of the CSOs, CBOs, working in the communities, trying to promote integrity, trying to promote accountability, this platform is here for you so that you can come. Let us talk about it. Let us see how we can jointly fight corruption in the country. So the number again, 077-01-75162. He talked about the benefit that comes with the fight against corruption. He talked about the benefit that comes with passage of laws that will support anti-graft institutions, that will give them the power so that they can effectively, efficiently execute their mandates. He talked about the petition talked about giving these institutions budgetary allotment so that they can be able to. We cannot have them instituted. They are taking salaries, but they cannot perform their mandates because they have low budgetary support. We cannot have them because they can't execute their mandates because they don't have funds to go about the mandate. They don't have the legal backings to go about the mandate. So we encourage you to be part of the program to call 077-01-75162. Let's get Sefa. What's next after this?
Yes, so we have our plans in place after submitting our petition. And in fact, before submitting this petition, we have developed a concept paper wherein we have so many activities listed, and one has to do with the submission of the petition statement. So there will be so many follow-up done. We are also hoping to print 2 pull-up banners that will be placed at the Capitol building to remind our lawmakers on a daily basis about these bills that we are talking about, because we don't just want to submit a petition and go back at our offices and sit down. But this time,
so you are anticipating to print pull-up banner, meaning you're going to have the information, the bills that are to be passed, that are currently before the lawmakers, and then place it to places that are visible, so that every time they come, they see it and they can get reminded. That's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, saying. So we are going to do that, and those bills will be printed very well to keep them reminded whenever they are entering their various offices, because we know that there are so serious points of entry. So we are going to place those pull up at the various points to have them reminded about about those bills that are before them. So with that again, we are going to visit individual lawmakers in ensuring that these bills are also passed, because we don't want a situation, like I said, where we will submit a document and then we sit down, because there is a fight against corruption. And you may be aware that not many persons, especially those that are involved, will really support this kind of engagement. But we believe that by persistent and consistent engagement with them, reminding them about this instrument, I believe that they are going to buy in, and then it will be put on the floor so that they can debate it, see the necessary reason for this bill to be passed. So we have already written the Senate pro tem prior to the submission of this bill. We wrote the Senate pro tem, we wrote the speaker, we wrote several other lawmakers, telling them that there is a need for this bill to be passed. So we are hoping that going forward we can do follow-up so that we can have a success in this petition, because it is very much important. Without these 6 bills that we have outlined, it is going to weaken the fight against corruption in Liberia. As it takes now, LCC will receive corruption cases, investigate, but they don't have that direct prosecutorial power. They have to submit the information to the Ministry of Justice. Sometimes it takes 4 or 5 years. And as you may be aware, the statute of limitation on corruption cases is a serious challenge now. Somebody take our country money and they leave Liberia, they go maybe America or Ghana. After 10 years, they come back. You have nothing. You have no legal ground to pursue that case. So we are saying that the statute of limitation should be removed on corruption cases, thereby establishing criminal code F to prosecute those that will be involved with the act of corruption. So there will be a whole follow-up plan in ensuring that these instruments are passed. We are not going to rest. They will always see us at Capitol building in our jackets, at their doors. If possible, we visit their houses so that they can help us pass this instrument, because these instruments are in the best interest of the Liberian people. It is not about JOCSAI, it is not about CENTAL, it is not even about LCC. It is about our national gain. Like my colleague said, if this instrument are passed, we are going to get donor funding. Today, people are complaining. You save money in your government revenue and they are taking it to use it for another purpose. That should not be that way. But if you have all mechanisms put into place, I believe that Liberia is going to be a better country and a corruption-free country.
Wow. So yes, with all mechanisms put into place, Liberia can be a corruption-free nation. Yes, indeed, it is possible. Yes, it is possible if all of us work together. If we just change the way we think about what corruption is and how we can tackle corruption. Let us disabuse our minds that it is not possible. No, it is possible. You can make it. Just be that agent. Start from where you are. Just change the way you think, and it can happen. We can do this and we can work together. That is the reason why the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia is engaging from all fronts. So we are engaging from all fronts, bringing civil society and community-based organizations together under one umbrella. We also bringing anti-graft institutions together. We bring anti-graft institutions together under one umbrella called the National Integrity Forum. So the National Integrity Forum brings together the GAC, the LCC, the PPCC, the Governance Commission, and all the integrity institutions, all those who are leading this fight, including civil society organizations. So we have to do this together, and we have the different means through which you can report corruption. Because we are aware that to report corruption, it becomes a peculiar task for people to report corruption, because they are afraid of reprisal, they are afraid of their lives, and a lot of things that are at risk. So to do that, we bring confidentiality to the table so that when we report, we keep your identity, and then take the information that you provide, we forward it to those institutions that are concerned so that we can do this and fight corruption in Liberia. So the program is Integrity Watch. It's a 1-hour radio program brought to you by the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. It is aired every Wednesday on Truth 96.1 FM. It is repeated on Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m. And we encourage you to be part of this program as always, so that we all can do this and fight corruption in Liberia.
And actually, I must register my colleague and our disappointment that as important as this effort is, this effort against corruption is.
Mm-hmm.
As important as it is that this morning we have to call up sleep in our eyes, we come to studio to revisit our action of yesterday. Open the line and we cannot receive a call. And somebody to just say, oh yeah, thank you for the fight and this and that. It's disappointing, but we are aware that politicians in their normal way of doing things are making corruption look like it's a normal thing. We can live with it.
Sure.
But we are telling you out there, member of the public, that this is not normal. This is what takes from you, what belongs to you. And one politician just take it and pocket it. Then the man go and pay us. Then the man go and turn a billionaire overnight. Then he become the generous politician, using your money to do good.
Because humanitarian.
Humanitarian overnight. The man would never used to do it before. Then he say, he live with the man probably that all people. No, man, not people. That man keeping you down there. If you see it, report it. Then the people come for that man, can't go investigate. That's why you see all the instruments we're talking about it. You see that when we talk about statute of limitation, they want to remove that 10-year thing from there. When the lawmakers see the need to take it from there, and that need they will see. When they take it from there, then they create that criminal code F. That one that to fast track criminal cases. As soon you can't, LACC can't catch you, they bring you. We don't want to be there, so that man go to court. They will bring you before court, they will prosecute you, if you found guilty, you go to jail. For those of you who ate the money of the country over the past years, and you say you're hiding in other countries, you're waiting for 10 years to expire. The lawmaker on that field will go sit down after we present a case. We understand they know in Liberia, they think can go long. And the manager present, they'll get them 2 weeks from now, they will forget about that. We will not forget the effort we put into this. We will not tire until we see it comes to the fruition we wanted to come to. We follow the matter. You lawmaker will act. You will put this into law. You will capacity to fight against corruption. And our international partners will be satisfied with your action so that when you are leaving office, you can have the opportunity to live a life free of corruption, free of allegation of corruption, and nobody will point finger at you say you didn't do anything. We'll be tracking those of you who will stand with this particular action that we are in. We will track those of you who will stand against us. If you stand against us, you are enemy of the state. You stand with us, you are enemy, you are friend of the state, friend of the common people interest. Let's
just get the party comment.
Would you observing you? In my party comment, I want to say I look very eagerly forward to the lawmakers, the passage of those bills that are before them. They are our key interests. They were the reasons why yesterday we woke up early in the morning and marched from LACC. If we are asking of you to join us in that march, we have added extra people to be helping you, picking you up. Young people did that thing yesterday, and they are built before you. If you do not pass those things into law, don't. We'll also go to political action. We will go behind you in your district and your county will tell people not to vote you because you're not a corruption actor.
Let's get this over.
Take those steps.
Thank you. So let me appreciate all the participating CSOs and CBOs on yesterday for their tremendous support to the fight against corruption. Let us continue to engage our policy makers in ensuring that these laws are passed into, these bills are passed into law. So as of next week, we will begin to visit the Capitol building to ensure that our lawmakers pass this bill. So thank you very much, Sam, for having us.
All right, he's Siapa Sakamara. He's hotline operator at the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. Das is a member of the steering committee of the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative. My name is Sam Zota. I'm the Media and Communications Officer at the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. My colleagues Mark Bondau and Geraldine T. Wandy have been behind the camera, making sure our visibility goes beyond the studio. Join us next Wednesday for another edition of the program. Better still, Sunday is a repeat of the program. Join us if you can. Bye-bye.